Huzzah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. It's been a week, hasn't it? I've been a busy little bastard. It's the 15th of May. Welcome to the BBC Spews. Thank you for turning up. Who's in? Plenty of yous already. Now then. Oh no, I keep saying now then. Jimmy Savile forever cursed that popular Middlesbroughism. Should say howdy. I'm an American now. Howdy. Carl Burton's in, Ragnar's in now then. I watch Ragnar's stream. Professor Andy's in, Jeff Wedden, Ginger Mongoose, Kate, thank you for moderating. Paranormal Channel, Blue Van Man now then. Ben Jones, John Hunter, 1969, Danny Ashton, Tess, L.O., Steve Jones, Davey Parker, Winston Smith, Online Killer, Mark Thompson, Burragan, Sunflower, Davey Boy, The Codhead, Jack London, anyone else I've missed, welcome. And Macca, better than Mackham is in Dorset. Everyone knows Dorset's nicer than Sunderland. Sunderland, like I said, it's one of those few places that I like because it makes Middlesbrough look better. That's the existence of Sunderland pushes the property values up in Middlesbrough by 10%. So 10% of £4 is 40 pence. 40 pence extra on our one bedroom gutter snipe terrace in the borough. Oh look, someone sent me a mug. A bootneck mug. I think that's the first piece of bootneck merchandise I've ever actually held, because obviously I don't make it myself. I outsource it to Redbubble, who promptly pay me about 2 pence for everything they sell. So I never bought one. I've bought one of them for other people and sent them as prizes and stuff, but I've never drank out of one myself. So cheers. Although the downside is it's a little bit small. We like pint mugs in Bootneck's house. So that's a bit shit, that, isn't it? Should do a comparison of shit towns. Bootle wins hands down. I told you, the people that hate Sunderland, I've tried to explain this to Americans a lot and it confuses them. The people that hate Sunderland the most live the closest to them. Because my mate Geordie Jimmy, who used to drink in my local in York, he hated them to the point where it was completely irrational. And he was saying, if my boss ever told me I had to do a job in Sunderland, I'd be like, yeah, I fucking resign, man. He just refused to ever set foot in the city, which is how much he hated them. And he was telling my American mate who was visiting, Scotty, this, and it amused him no end. And then I remember when we went to another bar the next day, there was a hen doing from Newcastle, and he went over to them and he was like, hey, do you guys hate Mackhams? And they were like, we do. And he was like, explain to me the depth of your hatred for them and explain it to me logically. And they were like, we divin' nah, we just do. We hate them. Rotten Politics is in. How you doing? Rotten Politics, honestly, mate, YouTube never sends me your videos anymore. I see them once a fortnight because they just don't, and then you forget to look. This is what they've done to me. It's bizarre. You watch channels with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and when they do a live stream, they get about 60 people in. But when I do one, some days I get 400, and yet I've got no subs. And it's because of that plasterer's radio-faced slapper, Suza, and her new replacement, Neil. Neil, that's what, N, 5 E's, 6 A's, L. Neil. What a wanker. It does suck, though, doesn't it? Blue Van Man as well, you've been destroyed since you started talking sense. Soon as you get political, they hate you. They just decide to memory all you. And that's why I think anyone with any sense is living for the day when YouTube gets consigned to the scrap heap of history and Rumble or somebody else takes over. Because they do my head in. Anyway, 80% for Kate. I'm sure that's true. You know what is, though? That is probably true. And it's also annoying because, yes, I am enjoying my tea. Yeah, I got loads. And if you've seen my last video, I did thank everybody. I've also sent you some shit art. So anybody who sent me anything, obviously I'm not a tight bootneck. Many of them are, especially all the Scottish ones. But I have sent you some shit back. So I hope you enjoy your shit art. And hopefully when I drink myself to death in the foreseeable future, they'll be worth some money. Right? Artists are only worth money when they die. So you'll have to wait until I'm a mediocre artist at best. So you'll have to wait until I'm dead. And then the only other one I haven't drew out for is Nick, who's waiting on a bear. I did him some cartoony ones that look like Paddington, which I thought was suitable for a kid's book. But he said he wants an angry grizzly bear, which I mean, I was thinking I've drew something similar to that, but I wasn't. I personally didn't think it was suitable for a children's book. If I show you my Redbubble page, I'll show you the one solitary bear that I've designed, and maybe he likes it. If you do, let me know, and I'll draw something similar. But for those of you that haven't seen it, let me have a look, because it's a bit shit, my Redbubble store. It's hard to find things in there. Let me see. I'm sure I've got a copy of it. There it is. Defeating the Beast. It's the Call Me Bear. There it is. Look, I'll share it so you can see. Yeah. If you think that's a passable bear, I'll do something along those lines, Nick. But I'm just giving you my opinion. I thought a jovial, cartoonish, diminutive bear like the one I drew you would be more well received with children than a grizzly that looks irate. But it's up to you. It's up to you. I'm not honestly. I'm just talking. I'm just waffling. It really doesn't mean that much to me, merchandise, because as I've said, joking aside, I'm sure if you're a big YouTuber and you make your own, you'll make some good money. Do you know what I mean? Redbubble really does give you the square root of fuck all. I don't know exactly what the percentage is, but I've been emailed by them before where I've sold like a t-shirt and a mug and a hoodie, and then they sent me like £6. Like it's basically worthless. I'm doing it through Redbubble, so it's just for fun. I'm an artist, right? I like the idea of seeing someone out with one of my t-shirts on, far more than I like the paltry amount of pennies that they actually send me. Anyway, Slip, yes, of course, he didn't turn it to what you so I'll get back to the news, shall I? But yeah, if you like that bear, Nick, I'll send you one. I'll send you the bear. Right, what's in the news? Zelensky meets the UK PM. Have you seen? You know what I didn't realise? I should have realised, because he reeks of little man syndrome. You know, basically, when you meet blokes that are needlessly chewy, they're always short asses, aren't they? I'm not chewy because I'm 5'9", which isn't particularly tall by Bootneck standards, but it's not short ass. So I haven't got a massive chip on my shoulder. I mean, I've got a small chip on my shoulder. I'm northern, but proper chewy blokes are always short asses, aren't they? I remember there was one in my school, and we used to call him Paul Daniels. Remember Paul Daniels? It's magic to be here, that little short ass. He was chewy. Everyone who's like unusually short is actually massively chewy. So it makes sense that Zelensky, the little poison dwarf, is a midget. I didn't realise until I seen this picture. But obviously he's a short ass, isn't he? What's his height? Let me have a look. Zelensky height. The little cunt. the little twat. He's 5'7", which, I mean, it's not total dwarf, but he is a short ass, isn't he? He's like Tom Cruise. And that makes it make a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense that he's a little twat. If I had a fight with Zelensky, there'd only be 3 hits. Me hitting him hitting the deck, and the fucking ambulance hitting 90. There you go. That's another corny Burrittism I'm sure I've used in several videos. I knew he'd be a midget. He's probably wearing them platform shoes, hasn't he? Or he's ripped 6 beer mats in half and stuffed them down his shoes. What a little shit. Both look like giants in that. Peanut Head. Our Prime Minister Peanut Head. PPP. I'm not going to tell you what the acronym is. I'll just say he's got an head like a peanut. He's a little midget. And Chewy is like proper aggressive. Like if someone proper wants to fight you all the time, people back home say, oh, he's a Chewy fucker. Chewy, is that? I think it might be a northeast thing even. I don't think I ever heard anyone use the term south of about York. But yeah, Chewy. It is needlessly chewy. It would make sense. So let's have a look. I mean, do we care at this point? I've told you, right, ultimately, I don't like talking about the Ukraine war anymore because it hasn't been interesting since 3 months after it started, because all the cynics have been proved right. Essentially, what people like me have been saying, normal, reasonable, logical people of the centre, right, is that war's bad and lots of innocent people die in it, So you need to have a common sense approach to it. And the idea that someone like Guy Verhofstadt, in fact, let me segue into that because I want to show you some of these tweets. Let me go onto my Twitter page and find this. This will make you split your sides laughing, right? This horrible little shit. Where is he? Let me see if I can find my tweet of Guy Verhofstadt. He's basically the biggest warmonger I've ever seen, and he's on Twitter. He's like it's like he's bipolar, or he's got the memory of a goldfish, and he doesn't know what he's saying one hour to the next, because it's like he's fucking mentally ill. The little geggy Elton John with Downs looking nonce is constantly on there shaking his fist and demanding more war, and then when it suits him, he goes, "Oh yeah, war, yeah, we must stand for peace." It's like all you do is beat the drum saying, "Let's have more war." And there he is gobbing off saying, fuck, I didn't realise how much I tweeted until I started scrolling through this. Maybe I can't find it then. But yeah, honestly, he's an absolute wanker, Guy Verhofstadt. He's a warmonger. And what people like Peter Hitchens, who you know I parrot a lot because basically he's clever, and I mean, he's never wrong, is he? Oh, there it is, look. Look at this. This is the man who is just absolute warmonger on Twitter 24/7, and he says, "Truly despicable. The European Union was created against war and submission. That's why Hungary joined, and an overwhelming number of Hungarians love the EU, while Orban supports warmongers in Russia and destroys freedoms at home." What do you think you've been doing, you absolute gone wrong sex pest? I mean, look at the clip of him. I told you, that is just Elton John with Downs and pedo. But that's shocking, that. And I said to him, Guy calling someone else a warmonger after reading his Twitter for the last year genuinely astounds me. Like, I can't believe the shit he comes out with. And the point that we've been making this whole time is that all wars end, right? And they always end with compromise. It's why we've still got a monarchy, for fuck's sake, because we battered each other for decades fighting over it. And when you realise you're in a grinding stalemate, you have to negotiate. The exact same thing. And this is what stuns me about it, right? Which is why everybody who's on the conspiratorial side of things has been proved right, is that this is common sense to anybody that's ever read a history book. Any student of warfare, any student of history and politics, anybody with a high school level education knows all of this stuff. But when it comes to Ukraine, all of it goes out the window. All of it. There's two truths in life. There will always be war, and wars always end. One ends, new one starts. It's the human condition. But if it's inevitably going to end at some point, why is everybody dead set against any kind of negotiation? Because you're not going to get what you want. As I've said many times, because I'm something of an expert after reading numerous books about the subject and doing a complete 6.5 month deployment out there in South Armagh, I'm something of an expert on that whole shit show. As I said, people are ignorant about that. Plantation of Ulster, 1607/1609, it's up in the air, but ultimately it's been over 400 years in the making. So people that know what they're talking about say, well, there's no solution, is there, other than a negotiated peace that neither side is really happy with? And that's just a fact. I remember one of the books I read all about South Armagh was by two Irish historians. And they said, this was written in the 80s, they said, ultimately, there's only two outcomes for the conflict in Northern Ireland. I guess they were more black-pilled because it was back in the day. They said there's only two outcomes, and both of them, one of them a bad outcome, and one of them's absolutely catastrophic, right? Because these are learned people, historians from the University of Dublin, and they said the negative outcome is that we just have this constant unending trouble in the north, where you have a British presence on the streets and the PSNI, sorry, RUC at the time, And then the catastrophic outcome is that the British just wholly go, right, we're leaving, sort it out yourselves. Ireland absorbs all of the northern counties, and then you have full-blown civil war on the streets, mass death and chaos, because that's what happened. You can't fucking, like, ignorant, pig-ignorant, detestable morons like Joe Biden, who was thick when he was 50. He was thick when he was 50. Is he going to be cleverer now that he's in his 80s and he's blatantly senile? His bed sheets are as yellow as a fucking field full of daffodils. Don't know if you get many of them in America. His bed sheets are as yellow as a field full of daffs. Buttercup Biden, on account of the fact that's what colour his bed sheets are. He's completely senile. And he was thick when he was 40, right? And he just talks like, all we do is depart everyone to Liverpool. Like, that's the type of plan he'd come up with. Well, go on then. See how it goes. People who've lived there for centuries. There's people living in Northern Ireland whose great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents were there. And we say, oh, Idris Elba, he's as British as you, Bootneck. He's as British as you. But, oh, you've been in Northern Ireland for 390 years? Nah, you've got no right to be there. Go and live in Leeds, you cunt. Is there any logic to this? This is what I tell you. I find it staggering that a run-of-the-mill, average IQ, working-class Bootneck talks more sense on this issue than legions of historians and politicians and legal scholars. It's complete lunacy to me, which makes you think, is it all linked to the military-industrial complex? Is it just about making money for corrupt politicians and big corporations? Because when you literally just need to read about some of these conflicts for 15 minutes when you're a normal person. And at the end of it, you go, oh, yeah. Do you know what I mean? You've got your pathological people who were personally involved in these conflicts, certainly in Northern Ireland, certainly in Ukraine, in eastern Ukraine and in western Russia. And you're going to have these people that are extremely pathological about it, and they're not impartial. And if you get people who live there, you know they're not going to be totally impartial. But to someone who's completely not got a dog in the hunt at all, you read about these things for 15 minutes and you go, why is this eluding people? The solution seems patently obvious to anybody with a fully functioning brain. Do you know what I mean? I really do find it fascinating, and it makes you think. The likes of David Icke and that, it makes you think there must, and I've never been a conspiracy theorist, but it makes you think there must be right. Because these aren't that complicated. We're not that complicated. We're just monkeys with clothes on. These things aren't that complicated. And Ukraine, Russia has a lot in common with Northern Ireland. It's a lot of the people in eastern Ukraine prefer the Russians. And we did push those borders east lots of times. And the EU has been very expansionist. And we are hypocritical, and we are selectively outraged when it suits us, and I could reel off problems all day long why the Ukraine conflict shouldn't be black and white. And yet the people in charge make out as if it's no retreat, no surrender. Remember that shocking film from the 80s? No retreat, no surrender. That should be the fucking motto for the Western world when it comes to this conflict. As if it's black and white, as if the EU never pushed west. Nobody ever did anything wrong ever. There wasn't a putsch or a coup in 2013. We haven't fucked with the Russians endlessly for decades and blamed them for everything all the time. And, oh, look, weird that, innit? Weird that, they're digging the reels in. Do you know what I mean? There you go, Vic Maguire. Bootneck, I'm from an Irish Republican family. Review your observations. Well, like I said, Victoria, because it's not that complicated. You read a couple of books and you go, I understand now. Of course, I understand why a dyed-in-the-wool Irish Republican's annoyed, because those people were settlers. The plantation of Ulster is a thing, and a lot of those people were stuck in there who didn't really belong there. But of course, you understand the mentality of the prods and the Ulstermen, because it's not their fault. You know, if we were talking about this 30 years after the plantation, you could make an argument because you've got living memory. You could say, you know what, if it was 1629, you might be able to go, you know what, this was a terrible idea. It's going to cause chew for centuries. Pull them all out. Pay everybody recompense, compensation, whatever you need. Take them all. We'll put them back where they fucking came from. But you can't wait 420 years and just say, all you people are just scum and you don't matter and your opinions don't matter. You're paying the price because your great granddad was a wanker. So fuck you. Those people are going to dig their heels in, aren't they? Because no sin was given by them, or even the grandparents or the great grandparents. And the fact that we make out as if Ukraine isn't complicated genuinely staggers me. So it must be the conspiracy theorists are right. It must be. The politicians, and as I've said, this is literally a triangle. There's only 3 steps in the equation. It's not complicated, is it? It's we pay taxes. Taxes go to the arms manufacturers. Arms manufacturers pay the politicians. We pay taxes. Next round of spending, they pay the arms manufacturers. Manufacturers pay the politicians. It's just that. That's not complicated either, is it? I've just said how you can summarize the troubles in 10 minutes. And you can summarize the issues in Ukraine in 10 minutes. You can summarize the motive and the method being used by the politicians in 2 seconds. It's not even complicated. Biden can't just take $10 million off Lockheed Martin or Raytheon, but he can do things that will benefit them to the tune of billions of dollars, and then they'll pay the money on the side. How complicated is that? It's not, is it? It's not. And that is definitely what's happening. And people like you and I, dear listeners, who have a fully functioning brain and the ability for critical, rational thought, are all sat here scratching our heads because there's that sort of core 10, 20% of the world that are just mindless and do exactly what they're told. And all they do on Twitter all year long is Ukraine, 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 Russia bad, Russia bad, Russia bad. And as I've said, you can reel off the things they agree on because they're ideologues. I know what they think on every single issue, because they are NPCs. That's why the NPC meme was so good, because that surmises them perfectly. This is what I'm telling you. It doesn't work with me, does it? Because when I'm arguing with some twat on Twitter, they'll read what I'll type and they say, oh yeah, and it's not even related. This is what I'm talking about with these lunatics. It's not related in any way to what we'll be discussing. And they think I am an ideologue like they are, so they can pigeonhole me. So, I mean, a good example, I'm sure I can find one if I spend 2 minutes looking, is I'll put something like this about it's a demonstrable fact that the justice system is fucked. And they'll go, oh, Trump voter, didn't vote for Trump. Certainly not the first time around. Let's back up a little bit. Didn't vote for Trump in 2016. Advocated for Barack Obama in 2010, whatever the fuck it was. I was a big fan of Obama back in the day. They go, you're a Trump voter, you're a Republican, you're anti-abortion, you're anti-euthanasia, you're massively pro-gun. And I'm like, hang on, we haven't talked about any of that stuff, and you've just decided I am because you think I'm an ideologue like you. But if I was to apply the same logic, I do know what you think of everything, because you are like the Borg Collective. Exactly, Keith. They are like the Borg Collective. I know. If I see someone with a Ukraine flag and an EU flag in their fucking profile on Twitter, I know what they think about myriad things that aren't even related to what we're talking about. I know all of them. I know they hate Trump. I know they hate Boris Johnson. I know they're pro-war, massively pro-war. I know they think men are women and women are men. I know they think climate change is going to kill us all and there's no possible technological solution. And they can't do basic maths because Russia and China and India and Africa as a continent don't care and I'm going to do anything about it. So I know there's 5 things I know about them. I know what they think about abortion. I know what they think about gun control. I know what they think about everything. Everything. Jordan Peterson explained it really well when he was having that. If nobody's seen it, you should check it out. He has a lengthy discussion with Helen Pluckrose, the journalist, and he says to her, you're an ideologue. Like, I know what you think about everything. And she goes, no, I don't. Here's something. I think men and women, it's not all a social construct. And we are biologically different. And he goes, oh, okay, so I was wrong then. And then she spends the next 20 minutes, because she's worried what her fucking viewers are going to say, just spends the next 20 minutes saying, yeah, men and women and women and men. Yeah. It's lunacy. And like I said, I don't see how this is complicated. None of these issues are complicated. So they've got to be, it has to be part of a plan. And I've always been anti-conspiracy theorist. I've always been like, never put anything down to malice, which could easily be explained by incompetence and stupidity. But at this point, it has to be on purpose, because the way that the narrative's gone about Ukraine, Russia, is an 11-year-old child who spends 1 hour on Wikipedia reading about the history of Ukraine, Eastern Ukraine, Donbass, Russia. An 11-year-old child who spends an hour on Wikipedia, at the end of it, will say, should we just be calling for never-ending war when it's impossible to win? As I've said, just like in Northern Ireland, where both sides had to take a bite of a shit sandwich, the IRA weren't happy, the Ulstermen weren't happy, neither side was happy. The British weren't happy. We had to let out all these killers and murderers under the Good Friday Agreement. We had to cede loads of ground that we fought and bled for, and said, oh, well, we'll prosecute British soldiers in the future, but we'll never prosecute that. I mean, I can even name the people, because I spent so much time learning all the names when you're out there pounding the streets. There was a twat out there when I was there who shot up an RAF guy while he was carrying his daughter, killed them both at a petrol station in Gibraltar, I think it was. He's a free man now. Killed an innocent man and his toddler. He's a free man now. He's walking the streets. That was the shit sandwich we had to bite to get peace in Northern Ireland. And we did it because sensible, educated people, students of history, know that you have to accept there's no perfect solution for a complex situation like a war. The English Civil War, the Royalists, the Roundheads and the Cavaliers, nobody got what they wanted in the end. You have to come to the table. So why are they behaving like Ukraine, Russia is not the same thing? Why? They cannot achieve their aims without basically Europe invading, right? They cannot achieve their aims. We're just looking at a grinding 20-year stalemate where women, children, and young men keep getting killed for no reason other than to benefit the arms manufacturers. And apparently, because the world's gone insane, if you make a perfectly sensible and reasonable statement like Peter Hitchens saying ultimately all wars end and war is bad, they mock you and harangue you. And then they'll sit there in the chat like your man there, one of your woke twats in the chat, mocking you because you want to see an end to death and chaos. And you think that war's messy and dirty and awful. And history's complicated and war's bad. And they mock you for it. Yeah. What's funny about it? What is funny about it? I don't think anything's funny about it. It's costing us a fortune and people are getting their arms and legs blew off. And it staggers me. So they must be right. The conspiracy theorists must be right. The solution is simple. The cause is obvious. And we're ignoring both of them and just saying, endless war. Endless war. And then best of all, blokes like this, the fucking warmonger, will sit on Twitter with a straight face and say, you're a warmonger if you don't agree we should endlessly bomb the shit out of all the Russians. You're a warmonger if you don't think Russophobia is a perfectly good thing and we should ban the Russians from going to the Olympics. And ban the Russian ballet dancers. What, a 19-year-old Russian girl who dances for a living? Fuck her. Yeah, we should do? Stake her to the fucking floor outside the local prison and wait for the rapists to come out. Yeah, that's tolerant. That's liberal. I mean, this is the world we're living in. Palmer Harris did nothing wrong. Do you know what I'm saying? Yes, it is. It is, Kathy. And this is what I'm saying. Up is down and left is right. Because the woke, our ideologues are insane. And you say, I don't want war. And I think we need to stop seeing young men and women get their arms and legs blew off. And they say, oh my God, you want to suck Putin's cock? Okay, then. It reminds me of Richard Dawkins, because when I was in my 20s, I was a chippy atheist. I used to like watching Richard Dawkins argue with like Christian fundamentalists in America. And as I said, I've grew out of that as I've got older. I've evolved on religion and religiosity. Now I think it's a game of pros and cons, and it's not an easy thing. When you're young, you think you know everything. But, I mean, that's obvious, isn't it? It reminds me of that, because he'd sit there saying things like, well, the fossil record and radiometric dating and radiocarbon dating and continental drift and blah, X, Y, Z. He'd like literally reel off dozens of reasons why we can prove that evolution is a known fact. And the religious person would stand up and say, okay, yeah, but the Bible says God is specifically outside of science. It's too ephemeral and magical. So it's completely out of science. So if we just ignore all of that stuff you've just said, then how can you prove that the Earth isn't only 6,000 years old? And he'd just throw his hands up in the air and say, I don't know what to tell you. If you can just utter the sentence, yeah, but we can ignore everything you've said, what about telling me something completely outside of science? I don't know what to tell you. You're welcome to it. And this is how I feel now when you're arguing with somebody that's woke, an NPC, because nothing gets through to them. You say to them, of course, Putin's a fucking twat. The Alexander Litvinenko poisoning, I've told you, is still one of the most horrific acts of any state. Nobody defends Putin. Nobody says he should have invaded. Nobody has ever said any of that. Peter Hitchens is getting it all the time in the neck. And I've listened to hundreds of hours of him talking. He's never once said anything pro-Putin. He's clearly an English Democrat. He's clearly a patriot. He's never said anything that could be construed as being pro-war, warmongery, or pro-Putin, fascism, authoritarianism, none of it. And the second you say to someone like Guy Verhofstadt, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have endless war with Russia, they go, traitor, which is exactly what you'd expect from them, because they are communists, right? It's the second you go against the party, off to the gulag you go. And so, like I said, I don't even know what you can say. You can't win an argument with these people. You just have to hope that our leaders will ignore them, but they don't. They are the ones pushing the narrative. So maybe we end up in global nuclear annihilation. It's all right. We had a good run. I'm a bootneck. I'll take it with a stiff upper lip. We had a good run. The nuke can rain down, and I'll just sit here cackling, drinking out my too small bootneck mug. But we could have avoided it if we weren't so sorely led and we listened to people like Peter Hitchens and got around the table. We could have avoided it all. Why do this idea that it's a zero-sum game and you either 100% support Russia or 100% support Ukraine, where does it come from? Where does it come from? And educated people don't fucking think that the Northern Ireland problem's simplistic. So why does people act like the Ukraine one is? It's completely ridiculous. So we're fucked, basically, is the short version. Anyway, that was like a half-hour rant about Ukraine. I'm sick of talking about it. I really am. I'm sick of talking about it. I don't find it any interesting anymore. I don't find the Ukraine crack interesting. So should we just not bother? Yeah, it was half an hour of waffle, but should we just not bother? Basically, two angry midgets want to spend more of your money on fucking bombs to kill people for a laugh. For a laugh. The Russian, they deserve it, right? That's what they say. Russian ballerinas should be banned from dancing. Russian Olympians should be banned from fucking competing. They're all evil. They're all scum. That's what they say. Rampant Russophobia. It makes me sick. Like, you can see the communists because they think it's fine to collectivize everybody. Oh, you're Russian? Bam, you're all the same. I mean, look at them. They're the ones who act like black people are all the same. They're all the same. Calm down, black man. Let me, the middle-class, woke, Guardian-reading, white liberal, tell you exactly what you think about everything. Yeah, I know. The collectivists, the commies. So they think it's fine to collectivize everybody. We don't. And the ones that call racist and sexist and homophobic are the exact opposite. Because we're the only ones who view women as individuals and black people, people that happen to be black, as individuals, and gay people as individuals. That's why people like me are aware that there's gay Trump voters, shock horror, and there's black Trump voters, ooh. And there's women that go, you know what? I don't want to spend my Saturday night slapping another woman's beef curtains. I want to have a marriage and a family, and I don't really care about a career. I like to raise my children. We're well aware that there's women out there that think that. They aren't. They seem to just collectivize all of them. They just ignore them, don't they? Totally ignore them. Biden, yeah, that's a good one. Proof of what I'm saying. You ain't Biden. If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. All right, right. So a bloke whose parents moved to America in the 90s, a bloke who's of African descent, both of his parents were born and raised for 20 generations in Nigeria, and then he moves to America, decides to vote Republican, and he's as black as a fire back, but he can't be black because Biden said he's not black if he didn't vote for Biden. Oh yeah, that makes loads of sense. Makes loads of sense. He's definitely. Let me tell you who's black man. Who are you? Old white guy. But he's an old white guy with the right opinions. So he's more black than a black person. Everyone knows that. And that's tolerant and liberal. And if you disagree, you're a racist. This is what I'm saying. It's comical. People say, oh, Bootneck, he does some funny streams. I don't try. It's not even trying to be amusing in this day and age because we're living in fucking clown world. Up is down and left is right. And you say things that make people laugh. Like, oh, you know what? Yeah, there's a bloke with a 10-inch lob on, and he's weightlifting in the women's competition, and everyone goes, hey, like South Park when they did Randy Savage smashing all the birds, and everybody chuckles. It's low effort. The world's so crazy. It's not even difficult to take the piss out of this stuff. Because, like I said, if this was 20 years ago, you would not know that it wasn't satire. Back in the days when, like, Brass Eye would make satire, and it'd be like, a paedophile has been arrested for dressing up as a school. Now, you'd see a bloke walking down the street dressed as a school, and you'd go, oh. You wouldn't even bat an eyelid. When blokes are birds and birds are blokes, and the shortest man in the world can proclaim he's the tallest basketball player in the NBA, or the fattest woman on fucking planet Earth can call Kate Moss a fat knacker, you're living in clown world. And it's low effort. Brass Eye, Google that, Trabant. It was a fantastic show. In fact, have a look at it on YouTube. You'll be able to find Brass Eye on YouTube. It was like a satirical documentary series. And me and my mates watched it when we were in our teens, I think. And it was hilarious. But all the stuff they did on Brass Eye is coming true now. So it's ludicrous. You can't, I don't know what to tell you. We are living in fucking clown world. And there's nothing that can say now that couldn't be. 20 years ago would 100% be satire. Now you read it and it's not even shocking, and it's all true. It's all true. The burliest, biggest, hairiest truck driver. I mean, look at all the stuff with Riley Gaines. Did you read about Riley Gaines? I'm sure everybody who follows me did. Riley Gaines is a swimmer. Shall I see if it's covered on the BBC out of interest? Let's have a look, see if they did. Riley Gaines. Nothing. Maybe I spelled it wrong. I didn't spell it wrong, did I? Let me have a look. Riley Gaines. No, I did. I spelled it right. They just don't cover it on the BBC. The funny old thing. Well, there you go. I did spell the name right as well. Nothing, because the BBC don't want you to know about it. So we'll have to use a different link. There's one from CBN. There we go. Just there's the evidence. The BBC didn't even talk about it. Didn't mention it because they don't want you talking about it because it makes them look insane and crazy and ludicrous. So Riley Gaines stands her ground in fight to keep female sports female. Essentially, Riley Gaines, right, was victimized and tortured and harassed because she was talking about female swimmers having to compete with big, hairy-ass geezers, right? And she started crying. It's actually heartbreaking. Well, I haven't got heart, and Bootneck doesn't cry. But it was very, very sad because she actually got emotional and started crying because she said, I can't believe that we're in a situation where a woman can go into a female changing room in the local swimming baths, and a big 6'2", because I was amazed. I didn't realise how much of an advantage that Leah Thomas had. Another swimmer. Let me see that one. Leah Thomas height. Thomas height. Oh, fuck off, Leah Thompson. Who's she? They're just trying to. Yeah, 6'1". Look, Leah, like, so 6'1" makes me look like a short ass. Leah Thomas. So Riley Gaines talking about Leah Thomas. 6'1". So she's saying, talking about how sad it is. She's like, I go in the changing room, you're nervous, you're anxious, you've got to go and compete. And then a 6'1" man with a massive back, right? A 6'1" man with a massive back comes in and just sits there. Yeah. Leah Thomas hasn't had the snip. Leah Thomas is still wielding the pork sword. Like you have to use euphemisms. YouTube gets angry. Still wielding the pork sword like a knight of old, wielding the saber, right? Still wielding the old pork sword, sitting there in the women's changing rooms, watching them get undressed, just like that. I mean, I'd love it. I'd love to just sit, if I had no soul or moral conscience at all, I'd love to just start doing it myself, just to like make it more outrageous, so there's more uproar about it. You know what I mean? Bloke like me, just no, I'm a bird now, and I identify as a top swimmer. Go on then, Bootneck, get yourself in there, son. And I'd proper just like that. Yeah. I'd lean back with nothing on at all, and I definitely wouldn't wax. In fact, I'd be rubbing hair restoring. I've already got like 7-inch pubes coming out my nipples. I try and increase them by a few millimeters, right? I've got a back like Chewbacca, and I've got a ball sack that looks like Chewbacca making a fist. And I would lie there, totally naked, get in, fucking loving this. And the birds come in. I'd be like, now then, like put no effort to look away at all. Like actually revel in it. Proper lean back in the chair. Come on then, love, show us what you're pissed with. I'd love to do it because that's what's happening. That's what's happening. Yeah, get some pube extensions. I'll go to the barbers. I'll be like, excuse me, mate, can you do pube extensions? Oh, yeah, what are you thinking? Well, I'm going to identify as a bird next week, and I really want to make a show of it. So can you add 5 or 6 inches to my back hair? Just do me a favour. My forearms aren't quite wiry enough. Can you just give me a few pube extensions? I'd just love to just sit there like that. Yeah, go on. Come on, love. Show us your old bearded clam. Get your kit out. Can you just pick that soap? I'd love to see your cinnamon fucking ring. And it's lunacy. 6'1". Hasn't had the snip. Stood there watching it. And Riley Gaines started crying and said, it's shocking. Like, to see a man watching me undress is genuinely fucking harmful. And like I said, it is like, that is the type of thing you would see on a hilarious comedy documentary series like Brass Eye 20 years ago. And now it's happening. 6'1". Laurel Hubbard's another one, 6'1" powerlifter with a kite. Have you seen the clip of Laurel Hubbard? Absolute man-she. Look at proper hairy pits. Have it. Like, just imagine. Again, I'd be like that if I was the male powerlifter. I'd proper take the piss. Like, I'd come out like wearing like the smallest leotard ever. Like, yeah, all right, girls, how you doing? I'd like gruff my voice a little bit. I'd gargle with whiskey and razor blades and chain smoke 8 fags before I went out onto the stage. I'd wander out to some special room. Go, all right, girls, how you doing? Fart loudly and then or you do your lift. Come on, you cunt. I'd swear as well, loudly. You cunt. Like a bad male stereotype. Brilliant. I just love, but sadly, I'm cursed with a moral compass, so I can't do it all for comedy effect. So yeah, sorry, boys and girls. I just can't bring myself to do it. I'd walk out with a pair of rigger boots and a boiler suit. Like a welder's mask hanging off your belt like you've just finished work at the foundry. A big orange boiler suit and some rigger boots. and a cigar. Now then, fuck off. Quality. Anyway, all right, 45 minutes. I think I'll have to do one. I'm waffling now. Anyway, I'm waffling, and also getting dangerously close to things that you can't say because you're not allowed to disagree. Like I said, I haven't said anything hateful. I've never once ever said anything hateful. I've been banned about 20 times. I've never said, "Oh, I hate this person." I've never said it. All I've ever said is the world's gone crazy, and I can't believe that more people don't find it hysterically funny. But there you go. Not allowed to say that. So anyway, I'm off. I'll make sure I do some videos this week. I had a very busy week last week. Quieter this one. So hopefully I'll get some more content done. I'll make a few videos. Please like them and share them for all the fucking good it'll do, which is none, because Nia and Suza have got me by the aforementioned short and curlies. Maybe that's why it's easy to grab me by them, because I've got a pube extension. So yeah, for all the good it'll do, make sure you watch them. And I'll see you all very soon. Thank you for watching. Thanks for the tenner, whoever that was. Who sent me a tenner? That's weird. Conservatives are a bit tight, aren't they? So I don't get many donations. Thanks very much. Press play. Press play. Much appreciated. I will keep doing it, not for monetary value, but because it tickles me pink talking about the state of the planet we're living on. All right. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. I will see you at some point in the week. Have a great time. It's fun. It's fun to be alive in clown world. We've got that. And you do have to laugh, don't you? You've got to laugh or else you'll cry. Thanks for watching. See you later, everyone. Toodle pip. Cheers.